How valuable is a high school diploma?
Graduation rates are an important indicator to study, as research from the US government's Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion found that individuals with a high school diploma have better health and economic outcomes, including a reduced risk of premature death, and earn up to $300,000 more in lifetime earnings. A high school diploma is required for many jobs and higher education opportunities. Because of our passion for education and connection to New York State schools, we decided to look into what factors influence the state's public high school graduation rates. Specifically, we explored school location, students' socioeconomic status, attendance rates, and standardized test scores, as research from the US Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion suggests these factors impact graduation rates.
We analyzed data from New York State Department of Education's 2019 to 2021 databases on graduation rates, grades 3 through 8 standardized testing scores in English language arts and math, and student and educator data. Based on our analyses, we will reflect on the current data being collected and what factors are important to understanding graduation rates.
In a choropleth map of the average graduation rate per county in 2019 to 2020, we noticed that most counties had graduation rates of over 85%. For reference, the state graduation average is 89%, so any county colored orange or yellow is above the state benchmark. However, there appear to be several clusters of counties with low graduation rates. Many of the counties with low graduation rates also have above average rates of economically disadvantaged students. As you can see from this choropleth map, there's a higher proportion of economically disadvantaged students in Richmond, Kings, and the Bronx, which were also areas with some of the lowest graduation rates. The New York State average for the proportion of economically disadvantaged students is 0.458 for reference.
The state's Department of Education defines economically disadvantaged students as those who participate in or whose family participates in economic assistance programs like free or reduced price lunch, Social Security insurance, or food stamps. As our previous analysis highlighted the importance of studying economically disadvantaged students, we next explored how economic status impacts graduation rates. Statewide, we found that students who were economically disadvantaged had lower graduation rates. And in comparing those who were economically and non-economically disadvantaged from the same areas, we found that students who were economically advantaged almost always had higher graduation rates, while students who were non-economically disadvantaged had graduation rates between 80% to 100%. Those who were economically disadvantaged had rates between 75% to 90%.
We also compared outcomes on a district level. Looking at the role of attendance rates on graduation, we found a strong positive correlation of 0.807 between attendance and graduation, which is in line with national research by the National Center for Education Statistics. A study by researchers at the University of Chicago's Consortium on School Research found that schools should be concerned if students miss at least 10% of instructional time, because this equates to missing roughly 2 weeks of a semester. Attendance is linked to student engagement in the classroom and motivational levels. While the majority of schools have attendance rates over 90%, resources could be focused on the schools that do not meet this important benchmark.
In addition to geographical, economic, and attendance data, we investigated how standardized test performance could be used as a predictor for graduation rates. In particular, we focused on scores from elementary and middle school state assessments in English and math. National research found a relationship between third grade reading levels and long-term academic achievement.
Research from the private philanthropy Annie E. Casey Foundation, which provides grants to support education efforts, found that 23% of students below basic reading skills dropped out of high school or did not finish high school on time, compared to 9% of students with basic reading skills and 4% with proficient reading skills. As such, these scores can be used as preemptive warnings for students at risk of not graduating.
We looked at how the 2020 to 2021 scores on New York State math and English language arts assessments for 3rd to 8th graders varied by county. These tests are used as diagnostic measures to ensure students' reading and math levels are on track. This choropleth map shows student scores on the English and math test, respectively, by county. Students needed to score at least 609 points to be proficient in English and at least 602 to be proficient in math. For both tests, we found that many students scored around the state proficiency level. And while some counties had averages below the state standard, The New York State Department of Education reminds us that these tests are only one way to understand student performance. They do not tell the whole story.
We found that grade 3 to 8 test scores and graduation rates had a weak positive correlation. Specifically, there was a correlation of 0.3 between graduation rates and English test scores, and a correlation of 0.29 for graduation rates and math test scores.
These correlations may be explained in part because parents can opt their child out of taking the test. As a result, the test may inaccurately represent the overall student performance. New York Public Radio reported that in 2021, less than a quarter of New York City public school students took the state tests. Thus, the test score should be used along with other information to determine if students are falling behind. It is clear that there are many factors influencing graduation rates, and therefore multiple solutions will need to be implemented to address each issue. We acknowledge that there are many other factors that influence graduation rates that were not included in this analysis. The U.S. Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion suggests that other factors like levels of teen pregnancy, poverty levels, the quality of teachers, school safety, familial stress, and course failure were also factors that influence graduation rates. We encourage the state's Department of Education to continue monitoring those levels for future study.
We especially encourage the Department of Education to continue collecting data on attendance rates, because this is an easy and cost-effective way to identify students at higher risk of not graduating. In line with the University of Chicago's Consortium on School Research, the Department of Education should focus on interventions for ninth grade students with low attendance, because national data suggests that 1/3 of the US's recent high school dropouts left in ninth grade. If schools can help students progress past ninth grade, they may be more likely to eventually graduate.
The data suggests that solutions may not need to be county specific, but instead can be targeted at areas with higher percentages of economically disadvantaged students. We would like to recognize the New York State Department of Education for collecting such robust data and for making it publicly accessible. By having access to this kind of data, students passionate about education like ourselves can better understand the current educational landscape and can become part of the conversation about what can be done to improve graduation rates in New York State public schools.